Right now, most people are scrolling past it. The biggest bet in the history of money is now being placed. Not the biggest bet of the year, not the biggest bet of your life, but the biggest bet in the history of capitalism ever. $700 billion this year alone. And based on one thing, that's artificial intelligence. And here's the part nobody's saying out loud. The same companies making the bet are quietly trying to hand the risk to you. Your retirement account, your 401k. I'm Connor with Honor. Today I'm going to walk you through what's really happening with AI, the money and the jobs, in plain English, no hype, no fear, just the truth checked against the facts. So let's get it on. Segment one, the $700 billion bet. Let me start with that number because it's hard to even picture, hard for me to quantify. Biggest tech companies of the world, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Meta, the company that owns Facebook. These giants are spending around $700 billion this year building the machines that run AI. People in finance calls these companies the hyperscalers. It just means the biggest of the big. And to give you a feel for it, that's more than the whole world spends on the military in most countries combined. It's the largest private building project in human history. Bigger than the railroads, bigger than the highways, bigger than the internet itself. A man named Tom Bailu, who studies this stuff closely, put it this way. He said the biggest bet in history of capitalism is being placed right now. $700 billion this year, and the path to $6.75 trillion by the end of the decade. That's trillion with a T. That's 1,000 billion. Now here's the question a smart person asks, why? Why would the richest companies on earth bet that kind of money? Well, because they believe AI is going to change everything. Healthcare, science, how we work, and they're afraid that if they don't spend it, their competitor will, and then they will be left behind. So this isn't crazy people throwing money in a fire. These are serious companies making a serious bet. But a big bet is still a bet, and every bet can go wrong. That brings me to the warning, the thing that makes this bet dangerous. Here's what makes AI different from the railroads or the internet, and this is the key idea. So stay with me. When they built the railroads, the tracks lasted for 50 years. When they laid the internet cables, those fiber optic lines, they lasted for decades. You spent the money once, and the thing you built keeps working for a very long time. AI isn't like that. The most expensive part of AI is a special computer chip. The most famous ones are made by a company called NVIDIA. These chips don't last 50 years, and they don't last 20 years either. Tom Bailu says the top chips are looking at about 3 years before they're out of date. That's 3 years on the single most expensive part of the whole AI apparatus. Think about what that means. Imagine you buy a house, but every 3 years you have to tear it down and build a brand new one just to keep up with the neighbors. That's the AI race right now. Tom Bailu says it better than I can. He says that every AI product is built on a foundation of quicksand. To stay in the game, companies have been replacing the most expensive thing they own over and over. And that gives us this warning. He says AI is less like a bubble, more like a time bomb. So the companies are spending hundreds of billions of dollars on machines that go out of date faster than a new phone. And to pay for it, they're borrowing enormous amounts of money. That's called debt. And there's the thing. We've seen this exact movie before about 127 years ago. Back in 1850s Britain, there was something called the railway mania. Everybody was sure trains were the future, and they were right. Trains did change the world. So families poured money in. By 1850, British families had put about half of all their savings into railway stocks, half of everything they owned. There was a man named George Hudson. He controlled a third of all the train tracks in Britain. People called him a financial genius. They worshipped him until it came out that he was paying his old investors with money from new investors. That's a scam. Today we call that a Ponzi scheme. The everyday investors lost everything. They were completely wiped out. But here's the twist, and this is the whole lesson for today's show. The train tracks stayed. They ran the British economy for the next 100 years, so the technology was real. The technology was huge, and the early investors still got crushed. That's the warning hanging over AI right now, and this is where it gets personal for both you and me. Now, here's how the risk gets passed to us. When a company borrows a lot of money, the banks that loaned it carry some risk. If the bet goes bad, the bank could lose. So what are the banks doing? Well, they're trying to get that risk off their own books. so they're going to pass it to somebody else. And that's not a rumor. I checked it. A giant bank called Morgan Stanley put together a deal worth more than $27 billion in debt tied to a metadata center. The data center is just a giant building full of those AI computers and mainframes. And who ends up holding that risk? Big investment funds, pension funds, the places that hold the retirement savings of regular working people. Names like PIMCO and BlackRock. Other huge banks are doing the same thing. JP Morgan, Citi, Goldman Sachs. If this gives you a bad feeling, makes you a little curious, maybe it should, because this is almost the exact same playbook from the 2008 housing crash. Back then, banks made some risky home loans. They bundled them. They sold the danger to other people right up until the whole thing fell apart and the regular families paid the price. Same move, new name. This time it's AI computers instead of houses. So Tom Bilyeu's warning is simple, and I want you to hear it. He says, assume that they are out to get you, not because every banker is evil, but because the system is built to pass the risk down the ladder, and you're at the bottom. And the retirement money is the cushion. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you what to do with your money. I don't have a retirement. I'm telling you to understand the game, though, so nobody plays it on you while you're not looking. His advice, and it's good general thinking, was this. If you are in it, play the long game. Think in years, not weeks. Bet on the whole field, not one single horse. And never bet money you borrowed. So let's take a breath, because it's not all warning signs. There's a real exciting side to this, and I want you to see both. The man who lived inside AI for a year. There's a man named Jim Van de Hey. He runs a big company called Axios. He did something most leaders are scared to do. He spent a full year using AI for everything, every single day, to see what it could really do. What he found will surprise you. He said that the AI became a better editor and a better writer than anybody at his company. Let that sit for a second. The boss of a news company said the machine writes better than his own trained staff. But here's the part I love. He didn't fire everyone and quit. He said the people who win are the ones who learn to work with it. He spends 1 to 2 hours a day actually using AI to run his company. And by doing that, he found at least 3 brand new ways to make money that were simply not possible before. New business lines out of thin air because he leaned in instead of hiding. And he told a story that honestly got to me. His father's 83 years old, calls himself a non-technological guy, but he sat down with AI and spent days slowly rebuilding the story of his own military service from the 1960s. He fed it little details, the tests he took, the ports he stepped out of, and then AI helped him piece together a part of his life that he had half forgotten. It sparked real memories, and now he has passed that whole rich history down to his kids and grandkids. Think about that. An 83-year-old man used AI to not to get rich, but to give his family their own history back. And that's the side of the story nobody puts in the headlines. He gave a challenge, and I'm giving it to you right now. Spend 30 minutes a day actually using AI. Not scrolling, not doom scrolling the news, 30 minutes learning how to make one thing in your personal life better and one thing in your work better, and that's it. He said something that stopped me cold. He said in the past, when technology changed the jobs, that happened slowly. Over 20, 30, 40, even 50 years, people had time to adjust. This time he believes AI is going to change. Well, that'll happen 2 to 5 years. That's 2 to 5 years. That's not your grandchildren's problem, that's yours. That's mine, this is now. He also made a bold prediction. He believed we could have real concrete cancer solutions in the next 24 months. That's 2 years, because AI can do what AI can do in science. That's a prediction, not a promise, but I imagine if he is even close to right. Can you imagine that? But here's the paradox, the puzzle of today's show. The same tool might cure cancer, and also the same tool wrapped in the biggest financial risk of our lifetime. Both things are true at the same time. That's why you can't just cheer for it. You got to be just as afraid of it. But you have to understand it. So let's keep going, because the money story has another twist. The jobs report that scared Wall Street this week. Here's something strange that happened. The government put out a jobs report. It was a good report. The economy added 172,000 jobs in a single month. That's more than double what experts predicted. That's good news, right? More jobs, stronger economy. But Wall Street got scared and the stock market dropped. Why would good news make the market fall? Well, let me explain it simply because I'm that type of fella and because this is one of those things nobody bothers to teach you. So when the economy looks strong, the people who control interest rates decide that they don't need to make borrowing money cheaper. And remember from earlier, all these AI companies are borrowing huge amounts of money. So if borrowing stays expensive, those expensive AI debts and bets get harder to pay for. And the market got nervous about exactly the thing we talked about, the debt. Now, here's the deeper point, and I want to be fair and accurate with you. An economist named Justin Wolfers looked under the hood of job numbers over the long run. And he points out that a single huge share of all job growth has come to one single area, healthcare and social services. By this count, around 900,000 jobs there. He argues when take that one area out, the rest of the economy has actually been losing jobs. Now, that's his analysis, not the official headline. But I'm telling you straight, and if he's right, that means the job market is leaning on one leg. And a table on one leg is easy to flip over or fall. So put it together, expensive debt, a market on the edge, and jobs leaning on one sector. That's a lot of weight on a narrow base. And now on top of all that comes the flood. Here's the $1 trillion flood, segment 6. Now, there's a basic rule in the world, and you already know it from the grocery store. When there's a lot of something, the price goes down. When tomatoes flood the market, tomatoes get cheap. A finance voice named Ed Elson points out that almost $1 trillion of brand new stock is about to flood the market this year. Nearly $1 trillion. Where's it coming from? 3 places, and these are real. I checked every one. Number one, Google is raising about $85 billion by selling new stock. And get this, that is the largest stock raise in history of the world. The old record that held since 2010, and Google just shattered it. Even Warren Buffett said the most favored investor alive put in $10 billion. 2, a company called SpaceX, Elon Musk's rocket company. It's about to go public. It plans to raise up to $75 billion. That would be the largest company debut in history. It's not even close to the old record. This could make Musk the world's first trillionaire. Number 3, a huge pile of older stock is becoming free to sell, around $500 billion worth. Added up, nearly $1 trillion of new stock hitting the market. And remember the grocery store rule, when supply floods in, prices, they get pushed down. Ed Elson gave the best word picture for this. He said the market is about to get hit with a force more powerful than gravity, and the force is supply and demand. He said it's like taking the entire stock market of the whole world and the whole country of Italy, dumping it into the American market all at once. That much new stock all at the same time. Ed Elson's warning was blunt. He said this is likely the top. Look out below. Again, that's one person's view, and nobody can predict the market for sure, but math of supply and demand is not an option. It's arithmetic, and it's worth understanding before you hear it on the news and start to panic. Here's number 7, the other side. Why some just say it's getting started. Now, let me be honest, and I hate that statement, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm going to show you the other side because a real teacher just doesn't scare you. He shows you the whole board. There's an investor named Alex from a firm called Whale Rock. And he says, hold on, the AI boom is not ending, it's barely beginning. His evidence is actually very strong. He says that for all this noise, real businesses have barely started using AI. And he puts it at less than 1% of where it could go. And if that's true, we're at the very, 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 very beginning of this. And look at a company named Anthropic. They make an AI called Claude. I check their growth, I use it, and it's honestly stunning. About a year ago, they were making $1 billion a year. By the start of this year, $9 billion. By this spring, they hit $30 billion. From $1 billion to $30 billion in about a year. That's not normal business, that's a rocket. Alex points out something most people miss. The boom is not just software, it's also physical. These AI computers run so hot they need liquid cooling. Like a race car engine, an old server used to cost $5,000, and if it broke, you just threw it away. A new AI one can cost $300,000. He said it's now like selling a critical part of an airplane. If it breaks, the whole thing goes down. And they eat so much electricity that he says flat out, there's not going to be enough power, enough computers to meet the demand. He had one more picture that stuck with me. He said the old way of doing software was like a horse and buggy. The new way with AI, like a jet engine or like the transporter from Star Trek. That's the gap he sees. That's not a small upgrade. That's an entirely different universe. And he explained why some technology takes over fast and some takes forever. with a simple home example. He said radio spread to almost every home in about 7 years, lightning fast, because all you had to do was turn it on. But the dishwasher took decades because somebody had to set it up, plug it in, plug it into the pipes to the back of your house first. He thinks the AI you and I touch is like the radio, spreads fast. But the AI deep inside big companies is like a dishwasher. It needs plumbing, so it's going to take longer. Both are coming, just at different speeds. So you have two smart camps. One says the bubble is dangerous and the top is near. The other says we are 1% in and it's just getting started. Who's right? I'll chicken shit you out right now. I'll say maybe both, because the early risk is real and painful. And the long term is still huge. That's exactly how the railroads went. The first investors got wiped out. The railroads still changed the world. The lesson isn't to pick a side blindly. The lesson is to keep your eyes open. All right, here's number 8. The power, the politics, and the pardon. Let me give you 3 quick stories that show how tangled this all is, because AI isn't just about chips, it's about power. The human kind of power. So first, big tech companies are not just fighting over technology, they're playing politics to protect themselves. One analyst, Will Guy, noted that Meta's leaders move closer to the Trump administration, hoping to dodge fines and rules coming at them from overseas. When the stakes are this high, the giants start to pick sides. Second, governments are trying to control it and mostly failing. Australia passed a law to keep kids under 16 off social media. That sounds good on paper, but I checked the real numbers. More than 60% of those kids are still on it. The age check technology barely works. Politicians keep writing rules for technology they don't understand. And remember that, because the same thing's going to happen with AI rules. Third, and this one's wild, Sam Bankman, he ran a giant crypto company, FTX, that collapsed and stole billions from regular people. He's in prison on a 25-year sentence. And just yesterday, he formally asked President Trump for a pardon to walk free. Now, the president said back in January he has no intention of pardoning him, but the man's trying. This tells you everything about the world we're in right now. The line between innovation, money, and getting away with everything has never been blurrier. Segment 9. So what do you actually do? What does all this actually mean? Okay, so I've given you a lot. Let's bring it home and let me make it useful, because this is the whole point of the show. Here's what I want you to walk away knowing. 1. The biggest money bet in history is happening right now in AI. $700 billion this year. You're living through it whether you notice it or not, whether you don't care or not. Number 2, the risk is being quietly passed towards other people, towards retirement money, so pay attention. Ask questions. Never bet borrowed money on a bubble. Number 3, the opportunity is just as real as the risk. The leaders who lean in and learn are finding new ways to make a living. The ones who hide are getting left behind, so lean in. Number 4, do the 30-minute challenge, starting today, 30 minutes a day, actually using AI to make your life and your work better. Not watching it, but using it. 2 to 5 years, the habit could be the difference between thriving and scrambling. Number 5, and this one is for the parents watching. One expert, Will Guy, gave the clearest advice of the whole day. Set up the parental controls before you ever hand your child any device, not after. He said you can't get the genie back in the bottle once a kid has opened an unrestricted device, so do it first. Front load the protection. Number 6, don't let the scary headlines run your life. The economy, Justin Wolfer, said something wise. He said, before you panic over some big national news story, stop and think about your own life. Not the average. The average can look terrible with plenty of people are doing just fine. So watch the big picture, but give your actual life. Make your own moves. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be a Silicon Valley-ite. You just have to refuse to be one of the people scrolling past the biggest story of our lifetime. So if this helped you keep it clean, or do me a favor, share it with one person who keeps saying AI is nothing and just a fad. They're the ones that are going to need it most. I read every comment, so tell me below, are you in the camp that says this is a dangerous bubble, or the camp that says we're just getting started? I'd love to know that. And if you want more of this plain English breakdown of the things that actually move your money and your life, come home to the source. You can go to ConnorWithHonor.com. That's where I put the deep dives, full notes, and everything I couldn't fit in today's show. ConnorWithHonor.com. You'll see a blog and other fancy stuff. If you want to connect with me, you can do it there as well. I'm Connor. I'm the Connor with Honor. Will tell you, I don't tell you what to think. I just kind of offer it, and I'll hand you the facts and let you trust to think for yourself. Stay sharp, keep your honor, and I'll see you tomorrow. And please be safe out there. We'll see you in the next one.